Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Eerie International, episode 487 this week. My name is David from the United States.
I'm Andi from Germany.
I'm Dave from the UK.
And we are back again, reunited to talk about a pretty different horror-related thing this week. It is a short film from 1993 by the band Nine Inch Nails for their Broken EP album. This, if you know anything about the band, is a pretty infamous tape from back in the day. And yeah, we're going to talk about it later on in the episode. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the show. We are a horror podcast that talks about all kinds of horror-related stuff, whether it's video games, movies, TV shows, books, started to say TV shows. I'm just going to start listing one thing from now on. Or in the case of this week, short-form music video compilation horror films that are, underground distributed on tapes. Well, whatever it is, we'll take a look and talk about it. We've got lots of episodes you can find online. Everything's free. Check us out, Eerie International, wherever you search. We're also on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a Gmail account as well. And if you are like our friend Elio, you have sent us an email this week. And it's actually just him because I can see all the emails that we got. So let's read the email from Elio, which, by the way, eerieinternational@gmail.com if you ever want to do that in the future. Boys, hello. It's been a while. Life has continued to crush me at every turn, but yet I strive, survive, and succeed. Thanks for the weekly episodes, as they're a nice respite on my drives to and from work and keeping me occupied while I deal with some family health issues. I greatly appreciate it. Here are some movies I've seen recently I want to tell you about. Scream 7. This movie sucked shit. It's saltily bad, and as a Scream fan, I was angry. Not to act like a snooty horror fan, because I try not to be, but this movie was fucking insulting. The first two-thirds of the movie is boring, uninventive slasher where the most meta references, a Scream staple they make, is insultingly referring to how Sydney should have been in the last movie. The ending is the biggest insult, by far the lamest and most nonsensical Scream reveal. It made no sense and had the weakest thread of connection to the movie, and it just sucked. Ready or Not 2. I agree with you guys on this one. It was a fun watch, more or less the same as the first one, but it has Sarah Michelle Gellar, so my teenage self was very happy. Some cool kills, but nothing insane. I think it's more or less on the same level as the first one. Next up is Undertone. Now, this is a must-watch. I see some people complaining about it because it's very slow and honestly could have been an audio drama. However, it was really creepy and had me on edge the entire time I was watching it. It was a cool watch. And then Faces of Death. This movie is going to be revolutionary for modern day teens. So he's talking about the new one, obviously. They'll love it. They think it's cool, find the social commentary moving, and like the performances. I got to say the dude from Stranger Things was great as a killer. Creepy, made your skin crawl, and was really in character. And really was in character. My only complaint is that it's not necessarily a remake instead of a reimagining of the series. But this is the first time I can remember a movie where a quarter of the way through a character goes, oh, wow, they're recreating this kill from the movie Faces of Death. It was pretty funny in theaters when I saw it. Trying to see The Mummy this weekend. Also, David, thanks for continuously talking about your personal growth, health journey, etc. You and I are fairly similar builds, so seeing how you turned around has given me some pretty good hope after a recent doctor's appointment. LOL. Best boys, Leo. On that last bit, yep, I've had a couple of those doctor's appointments over the course of my life where I'm like, oh shit, I got to get some stuff together and sort my stuff out. And yeah, you could definitely, absolutely do it. So hang in there, keep doing, I don't want to say all the very cliche things people say about stuff like this, but it's a grind. It's a lot of work, but definitely worthwhile and doable. But as always, Elio, thank you for writing in. We love hearing from you and the movies that you've seen in the recent weeks. All right, cool. What do we got here now? A few things to mention that we have gotten into this past week. Dave, why don't you kick us off? You went over to the theater, I believe.
I did, yes. So I've been meaning to do this for a while, and things just never quite line up. But because, and I believe this is the case, there's a 4K remaster of Akira that's finding its way to Blu-ray, or did do recently. As a result of that, they re-released it in theatres, and I believe Andi actually sent me originally a link to the Prince Charles Theatre doing a screening of it that was related to that.
I was just really quickly to jump in here really fast.
Yeah.
I was at a family event yesterday and was telling a family member about how me and my dad and Daniel are going to a convention in July in Chicago called G-Fest, which is all about like kaiju. It's like Godzilla related, like whole convention for it. And I was like, somebody was like, how did you hear about it? And I was like, funnily enough, my friend in Germany,
Yeah.
and this is multiple times over the course of our friendship, have I gone to events. I remember one time Andi was like, hey, there's a horror thing in McCordsville. Is that near you? And I was like, how the fuck do you know where McCordsville? Like, that's where my kid's pediatrician was like 3 years ago. Like, it is a small ass town. So yeah, shout out to Andi for keeping all of us informed on local events in our respective countries.
Now, let me say something about this Akira thing, because as you mentioned, I've sent Dave over the past years several times the information that something is going on at the Prince Charles or somewhere. And I believe I did not mention the Akira screening. I see it on my Instagram feed, but I think this is one thing that I didn't send to you.
His influence is so great that the universe is just like, this seems like something Andi would have told him about. So let's tweak his algorithm a little bit.
Well, now I have to fucking search and be sure, because I'm absolutely certain I've got a link for it. But anyway, because I sent it to my friend Ryan afterwards, and then he got looking at that, and he was like, oh, wait, they're showing Princess Mononoke at the Prince Charles? We need to do that. So he booked us in for that, and then they cancelled it a couple of days ago. But
not so nice.
The good thing is that Akira did go ahead, and it went ahead at multiple cinemas across the UK. And a couple of days ago, me and my friend Ryan, who I do talk about occasionally on the different podcasts that I do, he's the guy that kind of got me into, or back into anime, I should say. We went and sat down with a big bucket of popcorn and a couple of drinks and just watched Akira as God intended on the big screen. And my fucking God, does that shit hold up. Like,
yeah.
The only thing that doesn't hold up about it is that it's set in 2019. But even then, it predicted that the 2020 Olympics was going to take place in Tokyo, and also predicted that due to a disaster, it probably wouldn't be held in 2020 in Tokyo. Unfortunately, for us, it was a pandemic, and for the denizens of the Akira reality, it was because a godlike creature just made a huge crater out of the area. But yeah, so we sat down and watched it, and it was just fucking incredible. Like, genuinely, like I always forget the back end of that movie, because I've seen that film so many times, and I always seem to focus on the early to midpoint of it. And I think that's because you remember UMDs when PSP was a thing?
Yeah.
I had Akira on UMD. I probably still do somewhere. And
that's the most cyberpunk shit ever.
Fuck
Have
yeah.
Akira on UMD.
Yeah. And the problem with UMDs is that you try making a battery on a PSP last long enough to watch a whole movie, let alone have the time to sit down and watch an entire movie on a PSP. All the kids are watching the films on the phones now. I was doing that shit back before it was cool. But yeah, so
on a tiny little CD encased in plastic.
Oh yeah. So I've seen that movie many, many times, and many, many more times I've seen like the first half of it. And man, you just forget how hard that last portion of the film goes. The body horror involved in it, the 2001: A Space Odyssey-ness of it all, and also just. And I know a lot of people know about the Akira slide, which, no, it's not the electric slide. It's not a dance move. It's constantly referenced in movies, and it has been since Akira made it popular back in, I think it was 88 that Akira came out. I'm not 100% sure.
I believe so, yeah.
And it's not just that, though, because I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, Kojima, you son of a bitch, you fucking ripped off. And I know that these giant freight elevators that run on like a 30-degree incline do exist in theory, right? Like, it's not something that was invented by Otomo for the benefit of Akira. But still, I find it very difficult to believe that Hideo Kojima when he was making Metal Gear Solid was like, do you know what? I don't think I ever saw this anywhere. I'm going to use this. I think he absolutely saw this in Akira and was like, yep, yoink, I'm having that. But it's such a brilliant film, honestly. Like the 4K restoration of it kind of throws up a few slight issues in the animation where there's a little shakiness. But it's just charming as hell because you can tell that this was all done by hand. You know, it wasn't CG aided. It wasn't AI. It was like people with talent just painting shit and putting it down on a capture and capturing it frame by frame. And I've spoken about this a couple of times on Generation Animation, and I didn't learn about this until around about the time that we reviewed Akira back then. But the concept of 1 and 2 framing, which for anyone that isn't aware, in animation especially, you can alternate between different frame rates quite easily because of the way that animation works. If you want something to look super smooth, you animate 24 individual frames for 1 second of film. If you want something to look a little bit more just kind of regular animation, then normally animation would actually go for 12 frames per second. So, but rather than doing just 12 frames, they would do 2 frames. It would be 2 frames before it changed. So you get 2 frames of each image, if that makes sense. And Akira just absolutely blows you away with how it uses it. Like the nuclear explosion at the beginning. Yeah. It's just this unreal level of smoothness that adds to your uncomfortable feeling when you're sitting there watching it, and also the silence as well when that what you think is a nuclear explosion, but then later on maybe it isn't. Maybe it was Akira coming into being for the first time. But like, yeah, that kind of eerie silence when it kind of goes off. The whole intro to that film is a masterpiece. But I bring it up because there is some serious body horror in the back end of this movie, which absolutely needs to be seen to be believed. Like Tetsuo, his transformation. It's funny, Japan has this weird thing about people called Tetsuo and body horror. Tetsuo the Iron Man is a film that I saw on Channel 4 late night once, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can watch this ever again. I have done after that fact, because you know I saw a lot more stuff, and I had learned that film is not real. But yeah, like it's a really seminal piece of work, and I think that I'm super glad that I got to see it in the cinema, and I would say that if anyone else wants to see it in the cinema, if you ever get the chance to, please do. I think it's too late at this point. I think the last showings in the UK are actually tonight. That's Sunday the 19th. By the time that this is put out, there's a chance you might just about be able to book yourself a ticket, but it's more likely that you're probably going to be listening to this later. So keep an eye out, and if you can see it, absolutely do it. It's absolutely worth your time. It got 5 stars, it got a like, it got everything from me on Letterboxd. I just had so much fun with it. So yeah, there we go. Akira.
Checked our chat group, and you were correct. I did send the link to that Prince Charles thing, but that was 6 weeks ago, so I didn't remember that.
No, that's cool. I wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie, and just a quick follow-up double feature recommendation for our listeners, and also to point them in the past episode. We did an episode over Domu, the manga that Otomo did pre-Akira, which is also great, that we also recommend at every chance that we get.
Oh, and also I noticed during a scene in Akira, there is somebody wearing the red Domu hat with the wings on it.
Oh shit!
There is, yeah. I think it's.
Yeah. I guess I didn't know that.
When you get around to rewatching it at some point, it's the scene where everybody thinks that Tetsuo is the reincarnation of Akira, and so he gets followed by crowds. One of the first crowds that kind of acknowledges his being Akira, there's a guy kind of in a crowd overlooking a balcony, and he's wearing the red baseball cap, and it's got like little gold wings on either side. It was really cool, awesome little shout out to his earlier work.
That's cool.
Also, of course, have to add, because that's something that everyone does who's read the comic. Please do read the comic. The movie is barely half of the story.
Yeah.
It's a big old tome. Several big old tomes.
I was going to say several big old tomes. I've got a box in my closet next to me right now that has all of the books in it.
I have the first of many that I need to collect, and it's just going to be a. Once I'm done with collecting Berserk, I'm moving on to Akira.
Nice.
It's 6 books. It's not that many. Of course, they are thicker
thick,
than your. But I mean, the Berserk books are thick.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
is the Berserk books that you're collecting. They're also not your usual tankobon. So of course, they are several pages.
Yeah,
but still, Akira only 6. Berserk over 20.
It's 14 copies up to his death. So. Okay. But they collect many individual volumes in one book. So yeah.
And when I read the manga for the first time, I was surprised. I had always heard that the movie, because the movie was produced when the manga wasn't finished yet, that the manga goes on for longer. The story goes on for longer than the movie did. But when I actually read it, I was surprised that I believe the movie's ending is in volume 3, not even the end of volume 3.
I need to get on it and collect these now.
If I remember correctly, but so the movie is roughly half of the story.
Where's my second Akira movie, Tomo? Where are you?
The if this is just for you, Dave, and also for all of our listeners too. A while back, they did a big box set that they keep in print for the Akira thing, or like the run of volumes that they did in these hardcovers, and it's pricier. But I did want to shout it out because it's one of the coolest box like presentation designs I've ever seen. It's bulky and cumbersome. Like that's why I said it's in my closet right now. But so you can't really put it on a shelf, but the way that it opens up and unfolds, it's design wise is just it like literally the design of this packaging won awards that year. It was I'm not like super close friends with him. I'm friendly with him. Phil Balsman, he's a comic book letterer and designer. He does more design related stuff these days, but he designed that entire box set. And I think the first might have been the second time I ever hung out with was around Phil. I went up to him and was just like, I'm not going to take up much of your time. I just want to thank you and praise you for this Akira box. It's like one of the coolest things I've seen in years. Like it's so good, so amazing. One. Yeah, it like kind of opens, it like folds open almost, like unfolds. It's got like 2 halves that open at the top. Man, it's nice.
I'll be honest with you. At the moment, it's £115, and if I want individual copies of the book, I think they're about £20 to £30 each. Yeah, so I might be getting this box set soon.
Yeah, it's super nice, and it's like the version that's in there. Oh, it also contains Akira Club, which is a hardcover that they put out that for a while was out of print. I actually have 2 copies of it. I have one in the box and then one that I found years ago at a used bookstore. So they put that back into print and then added it to the box as well. And that book in and of itself is amazing. It's just like behind the scenes stuff, promotional artwork. It's amazing. Like it's a great book just on its own. So I think it's worth it, not to peer pressure you into it, Dave, but just wanted to spread the word on this, the good news on this box.
Honestly, the massive reduction on, because normally this box set is £200. And they've reduced it to 115. That alone is putting me under pressure to want to buy it, and I might end up.
Nice.
I might make a really bad financial decision by the end of the day, which is also a really good financial decision.
Yeah, I think so.
Who knows?
I think so. Cool. I have one thing I wanted to quickly mention. It's not horror, but I checked with the guys and got the okay to bend the rules a little bit this week just because of what we're talking about. This was absolutely not planned. It was a total coincidence, but Nine Inch Nails had a new, I say album. It's not an official Nine Inch Nails album, but they did a collaborative thing with a German electronic DJ musician guy who goes by Boys Noize, Noize. And they had been working with Boys Noize on a few different things. He did a remix or a couple of remixes for their Tron Ares soundtrack. He also did like a full remix and turned it into like a long, unbroken like house dance sort of track for their Challengers soundtrack, which is also really good. So I was familiar with him through them. And then they had done different performances during the tour that they I think just finished or finishing the Peel It Back tour, and really well received. Like Trent Reznor obviously was like very high on working with Boys Noize and like the collaboration, how it sounded, everything else. So a lot of stuff after that happened in quick succession. They announced a Coachella performance. They announced a collaborative sort of album thing. I think they had 2 different distinct performances. And it's this like weird melding. I don't even say weird. It kind of just makes a lot of sense of Nine Inch Nails albums with leaning in a more electronic, like house techno-y sort of side of things. And so the album itself, I've been listening. It came out on Friday on the 17th, and I've listened to the whole thing. I don't even know how many times now, just on repeat. So it's a great like if you're a Nine Inch Nails fan, like it's especially awesome. And I'll get into this later in our main topic. Nine Inch Nails is my favorite band. They have been since I was a high schooler. So for me, it was especially cool because it's just like you get all of these. Some of them are pretty crazy picks too. Like there's a few different tracks off of Year Zero, which is one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails albums. There's a How to Destroy Angels track, which is one of their other albums or one of their other bands that they did that's adjacent that I really loved as well. And anyway, it's awesome. It's been really well received, and it's this cool like parts. Like when it first starts, you hear the crowd, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I guess it's a live compilation of tracks that they performed. But then at a certain point in the first track, and you can tell the way that it's mixed that it's intentional, the crowd cheering and noise and stuff goes out, and it's done in a way again where it's like a transition, and you're like, at least the way I interpreted it was like, oh cool, they must have had like really tight control over the recording and somehow were able to mix it in a way that they could kind of control that. I don't know that that's what they did, because as you listen to the rest of the album, sometimes tracks will just be production and won't have any crowd stuff. Other times they will, and it'll be, and you could tell stuff is sort of live, and then it will be mixed and changed. And found out later that it's kind of all of the above. So they pulled it from live performances, they pulled it from production stuff in the studio, they pulled it from like recordings they did on like planes and like in their homes and everything. So it's this like weird mix that they kind of then curated together into this cohesive thing. And for the most part, that aspect of it, I think, was pretty well received. I saw some people kind of complaining about it feeling a little gimmicky. But anyway, wanted to shout it out. 9 Inch Noize was the name of the album. And yeah, it's been great. It's been like super fun listening to it and seeing how they, I think that's another aspect. Boys Noize, the way he approaches their tracks, there's a lot of interesting ways that or melodies that he'll pull to use as the main part of the song. And that's something about Nine Inch Nails anyway. Like Trent Reznor, throughout the entire discography, you'll see like little motifs that will reappear, or towards the end of a song he'll introduce a new melody line or something that might, kind of be a main part of the song, but only in like the last third of it. So it gives Boys Noize a lot of opportunities to remix and pull stuff around and make completely new songs out of it in some cases. That has been really fun to listen to. I said this would take 30 seconds and I've talked about it for way too long. So let's move on. Let's move on to our main topic. But it is great. I recommend it. Okay. So and yeah, I also wanted to mention too with Elio's email, I am going to go see The Mummy today. So that one's on my list. And then I completely missed, I think I mentioned that last week, Ready or Not 2 and Undertone as well are also already gone here. But I'll check in next week on The Mummy. Okay, our main topic this week, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is the Broken movie, is kind of how people refer to it, but it's the 1993 horror musical short film and long-form music video, that's how Wikipedia describes it, filmed and directed by Peter Christopherson. It's based on an idea by Trent Reznor and is a companion piece to the 1992 Nine Inch Nails EP, Broken. So this basically was, if you're unfamiliar with the band, unfamiliar with all of the lore around this, they put out, and when I say they, it's also at this point especially just Trent Reznor is 9 Inch Nails. They put out their first album, Pretty Hate Machine. There's a whole big thing rabbit hole you can fall down into in terms of contract and label and different disputes that Reznor has had, but this was a big one. And with the split that happened, it was very contentious contract stuff and them saying, no, you owe us this thing or whatever else, the way they were marketing it, Reznor was not into. And as he was able to break away from that and move into a better situation with a more established label, a bigger presence, more creative control, he made this EP, this little EP in between Pretty Hate Machine and then what would be their major label debut. I might have some of this wrong. I'm doing this from memory, but Downward Spiral. So Broken was, I believe, also something that they recorded kind of in secret, that it was something that the studio, if they would have found, the first studio would have found, or label would have found out that they were recording it, they would have said, that's ours, we own that. So they had to record it in secret. And then when they were with the new label, release it. And a big part of the EP, again, from what I remember, because a lot of this stuff also happened when I was about 3 years old. So it's my favorite band, but a lot of it I've just read in retrospect, was very much meant to be this kind of, so not calling card, but like very much a thing of like, hey, I'm moving in a different direction, a darker direction, heavier. Pretty Hate Machine has like some poppy sort of moments at times in it. And again, from what I've read, there's a lot of conflict there with the label in terms of what they wanted and what Reznor wanted. And so this was really supposed to be sort of a statement of like, you know, this is crazier. And this is also an era too of Trent Reznor in particular that, again, I've only read about. I wasn't, you know, aware of him at the time. So, and Andi, you might be able to speak to more of this too, because this would have been like prime, like Andi's growing up era. I don't know how much you followed Nine Inch Nails, but he seems like he was a pretty big shithead. Like I've always read stuff about him, and it's just like, and he's talked about that too in terms of how immature he was and everything else. So I bring that up to say I think there's also a streak of edgelord sort of attitude happening here with what we're about to talk about. It's, you know, let's push some limits and like offend people. And this would have been also the era where he was recording, I believe he recorded the Broken EP and Downward Spiral in the house where the Sharon Tate murders happen. And they kept the door, which they don't have it anymore, but they had the front door for a while at their other studio. And he's talked about regrets he's had with how they, you know, handled that and not thinking about it and, you know, whatever. So the Broken EP film came out of all of that. It's a compilation of the music videos from the EP and then with this framing sort of device. And much like the other stuff that I just mentioned with the edgelordy things, there's like a push the labels sort of like really fucked up, violent, let's take it to all the places that will offend and have bad, you know, be in bad taste and poor taste. And it was not officially released. There was a thing for a long time where he had made copies of it on tape, and I don't know if this is an urban legend or if he's talked about it. I think he's confirmed it, that he intentionally blacked out different parts of it in each of the tapes so that he knew that if it ever leaked, he would be able to track back and know which one of his friends betrayed him that had leaked it or that had lost it or shared it or whatever else. And if I remember correctly, the copy that they figured out was the lead singer of the Butthole Surfers, I'm pretty sure, was like the copy that had leaked. So if that's to be believed, that's the guy who's responsible for it. So then for a long time,
Surfers. Wow, what a name.
Yeah. So for a long time, it was this like piece of not lost media, but like media like legend, where when I got it, I didn't see it until I was in college. I think at the time I either found a website that had it or a torrent or something and watched what at the time would have been one of the like leaked VHS copies that people had made copies of over time and passed around at, you know, conventions, whatever. And in the years shortly after that, when I first saw it, it was officially sort of unofficially released in 2013, I believe it was. It was even earlier than that, 2006, somewhere in there. I might have some of these dates wrong. There was a thing where Trent Reznor posted a message that was kind of tongue in cheek about like, hey, if this thing is out there, if you know what it is, you know, happy holidays or what. Like, didn't say what it was specifically, but alluded to the fact that he knew it was out there to find and to watch online, and maybe even posted it himself. And then later on, I think that was confirmed. There was a torrent website and the account that it was Trent Reznor that posted it. And it ended up on the Internet Archive. And then now if you go to Nine Inch Nails website, go to their discography, go to the Broken EP section and then hover your mouse cursor kind of below the text, but before the track listing somewhere in there, you'll get a hyperlink that will pop up. You can't see it, but your cursor will change into a clickable link. And if you click that, it'll take you to the Internet Archive copy of the movie. So it's this weird thing where it's like official, but not actually official. I'm not sure at this point how it breaks down in terms of, I'm not sure at this point how it breaks down in terms of rights, if it's something that like he can't officially say because he doesn't own all the aspects of it, or if it's just leaning into like the legend of it. But anyway, very long introduction, but I wanted to kind of give a overview of what it is, because it is such a specific thing. It's not something you can really go like buy it at a store. Not that you'd be buying music things at a store anymore, I guess, but it's not, you can't order it on Amazon. Let's put it that way. And it has a very strong horror bend to it. So not too long ago, I thought about that. I was like, let's look at it. I remembered it. I hadn't seen it since, again, high school, college age, but I remembered it being like hostile-y, like torture porn, kind of serial killer snuff film sort of vibe. And I think more than anything, my memory of it back then was that I kind of rolled my eyes. It was like, okay, I get it. Like it's meant to offend or whatever. And had not watched it in close to 20 years. So really long intro. Let's go around and talk about what our overall impressions and thoughts were. Andi, kick us off. What did you think watching the Broken EP movie?
Okay, I think we haven't mentioned yet, and maybe you have and I missed it, that several of the actual music videos within the Broken movie are directed by other people than Peter Christopherson, who is credited for the Broken movie, for the framing story, and the last music video is specifically made for the Broken movie by Peter Christopherson. But the other videos are, or were at the time, existing videos by other directors. So the Broken movie is actually more or less a framing story, a reason to present all these videos within one thing. And except for, I think, one song from the EP is not represented, and then the two hidden tracks that I think at least one of them is a cover song or something like that.
Yeah, there's an Adam the Ants song in there.
Yeah. So
good point. Because these were also, I guess, to that point too, these also, at least two of them were also maybe not on MTV, but were released as videos. I know Happiness and Slavery was controversial. It was banned in a lot of places, but not Wish. Is it Wish or is it Last? I can never remember.
I think Last is the one that's not represented, if I remember.
Okay, so I think Wish is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. It was like you could actually watch the video. You can find it on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, there's stylistic changes within these videos, because the framing story is more of that found footage snuff movie style in color, whereas some of the videos are in black and white, or at least without a lot of color and not as grainy and shot like a music video of the time would have been shot. At times, some of them look like a David Fincher video, or Greedy Fly by Bush is a video. So years ago, we had the idea of doing an episode on horror music videos. So I have a short list of videos that I wrote down, and Greedy Fly by Bush is one of those videos on that list. That's why it sprang to mind. That's the 20 minutes of the Broken movie, how it is put together. So the framing story tells this story of a serial killer that gets caught and executed, and we see him torture a victim, and we see remains of other victims in his house, his basement, or wherever. And the torture victim is made to watch these Nine Inch Nails videos. So is this part of the torture, to watch a Nine Inch Nails?
It's funny when you say it like that. Yeah.
I don't know. What's worse, watching a video for Happiness and Slavery, or getting your dick cut off? I don't know. All these things happen in this film.
It's true.
you earlier said that this would have been more or less my prime in being a teenager when Nine Inch Nails came onto the scene. I think this week I listened to the EP, I think 3 times, and I watched Broken 2 times, and those are collectively more Nine Inch Nails minutes than I've ever consumed before in my life. This was just not my type of music. Still isn't. I'm not a huge industrial fan, and especially back then, I was a huge snob when it came to electronic music. I liked a band to have guitar and drums and bass, and I wanted all of them to record their albums live, no overdubs. If you want a second guitarist, get a fucking second guitarist and don't play 2 guitars on 2 different tracks yourself. I was a real snob. So and everything that was electronic or synthesizer, that was just not my bag. Later on, I had first Filter albums. And Richard Patrick was a guitarist for Nine Inch Nails in the beginning for a short while. I believe he's in the Wish video, if I saw that correctly. He's the bald guitarist in, I think it's Wish, the one where it's kind of the where they're playing in a cage,
like Mad Max. Yeah,
yeah. So I had the first 2 Filter albums, and then later on I had one Stabbing Westward album because I liked their song on the Spawn soundtrack. So listening to the Broken EP this week made me go and listen to some of the Spawn soundtrack so that was my I don't know, my slight dabbling in electronic music, rock music, and industrial music. This one, and that one Stabbing Westward album had a cover by Dave McKean, which played a huge role in me being interested in that album. And it was very, very sad. I like sad music, which the Broken EP is also very sad. So not exactly my type of music, but watching the Broken movie twice today, I liked it a lot. I mean, when it comes to just music videos, that it was my time back then. That was when I was watching music. It was the heyday of the music video in the 1990s. When you came home from school and just switched on MTV and watched whatever was on, waiting for the video that you actually wanted to see. So I enjoyed that aspect of it very much, just the music video-iness of it. And also the horror parts, the snuff framing story. It is very violent, but very well made. I wanted to go and listen to some Throbbing Gristle, which I didn't do this week. But Peter Christopherson was a musician himself. He passed away like 16 years ago. But he was in the band Throbbing Gristle, which is also a name that I'm aware of, but never could have told you what type of music they made. So
that's how they are for me too. And another band he was in was Coil, and Coil's in the same thing as Throbbing Gristle for me. So he was somebody that's on the periphery that I was aware of in a similar way, but not beyond that.
Yeah. I looked up all the directors that worked on Broken and on these videos, if they had made anything else, like any movies or so that I could know, but I didn't find anything, or at least I don't remember anything on there that would have been a major thing, because of course some directors from back then, I already mentioned David Fincher, went on and made movies or TV and things like that. Didn't find anything for these people. So yeah, I think it's a very fascinating story. So just researching the story, of course, I read the 2 Wikipedia articles that David had sent us for the EP and for the film. I watched a couple of videos on YouTube about the whole story. As I said, I was never really listened to Trent Reznor's music, except for I'm a big fan of his scores in movies. So I knew very little about him and the band and the story. I had one friend for a while who was a huge fan and who told me things about all these mythical stories about USB sticks with new music that people found on a toilet during a concert, and all these secret releases of new music and that stuff, and so that's very interesting. So that the research, the history of this artifacts, the Broken movie is very, very interesting. I think it's very well made and well worth watching. It doesn't necessarily make me go out and I'm saying that now, but it doesn't necessarily make me go out and want to listen to the whole Trent Reznor discography. Sure. But then again, this week I listened to, or over the past few weeks, I listened to all the Rage Against the Machine albums, which I didn't 30 years ago. So maybe me and Trent Reznor will have a moment where I will go through his whole discography. But yeah, so we can go through some of the videos in more detail later on, but I'll throw it to Dave now and get his reaction.
I've always been familiar with Nine Inch Nails without being a avid listener of them, and it's not because I like or dislike them. It's just that at the time of Nine Inch Nails being in my purview, I was big into the new metal scene, and that skewed more towards, Limp Bizkit, Stained, Drowning Pool, bands like that. And Nine Inch Nails was more electronic and didn't really sit within the new metal kind of, as has been mentioned before. I think that they're probably classed closer to industrial, which
especially back then.
Yeah, which wasn't a type of music that I really got into, with the exception of the soundtrack for the original Matrix, which features a fuckload of industrial music, and strangely enough, I fucked to that hard. So maybe I should have been listening to Nine Inch Nails all this time. The closest I got to listening to Nine Inch Nails was a friend played me a track off of one of their albums, and some lyrics that stuck with me were from Closer. And the reason they stuck with me was because literally like a couple of weeks later, I listened to Hot Dog from Limp Bizkit, and they literally used the same lyrics.
That's right.
Apparently it was some kind of beef that they had or something. Yeah. But I was reading something today and they were like, do you know what's really funny? In order to use those lyrics, they had to credit Trent Reznor as a co-writer of that song. So he got royalties for you taking the piss out of him. I don't know if they've still got a problem with each other or not. I'm not sure if they ever had any trouble with each other to begin with, because I know there's a lot of bands within the space at that time who created beef to sell records, but actually got on perfectly fine with each other. So I'm not 100% sure of the history behind that. But yeah, I think that's kind of the closest that I've ever been to listening to Nine Inch Nails on a regular basis, is every time Closer comes up, every time Hot Dog comes up, I'm like, yeah, this has got the lyrics from Nine Inch Nails in it.
There's also, and I'm pretty sure I just found it, but when you said that, it triggered a memory that I was like, I'm pretty sure that during that beef, Trent Reznor also had a quote that was a pretty dynamite, just on its own sentence of, like, there's some of these that happen with beef sometimes that they just lodge into your brain. Like Austin and I still to this day will bring up one of the dudes from Oasis. Who's the more contentious one? Or is it Noel, I think?
Liam is the real dickhead. Yeah.
Probably him.
It depends on who you ask. Noel is the one.
I guess that's true.
They're both pretty mouthy.
Which brother
nowadays,
you ask?
Liam is the more chill one. Back in the day, Liam was the more has more kids with more ladies, I think.
The point of view from this side of the channel is that Noel is the more level-headed, down-to-earth one who. Okay. After Oasis fell apart, went on and carried on making music and doing stuff and being successful. Whereas Liam was successful in his own right, but he's the mouthy one. And if there's something that British people don't like, it's an overconfident, mouthy working class person.
Sure.
So Liam kind of got the rough end of that stick.
Whichever one it was, at one point was in a feud with Jack White. and from the White Stripes and lots of things. And referred to him as Zorro on donuts, which Austin and I thought was one of the funniest weird burns ever. So that's what anytime Jack White comes up, one of us is like, fucking Zorro on donuts over here. So during this feud with Trent Reznor and Fred Durst, and I found the quote, apparently Trent Reznor was quoted as saying, Fred Durst can surf a piece of plywood up my ass, which is one of the weirdest. But it was one of those things when you brought it up, I was like, I'm pretty sure Reznor said something fucking crazy too. Like, let me find it. So yeah,
that's fucking funny.
Also seen in the Broken movie.
Oh,
Fred Durst?
No,
surfing up plywood up my ass. Yeah. You're right. Immediately, my mind goes back to trying to find a fucking red cap somewhere. And
funnily enough, I've just found that exact same quote. I was looking at a Reddit post about it to try and figure out what the beef was. Apparently, there was a video in Starfuckers Inc. where Trent is playing carnival games. He's throwing baseballs to smash plates, and they've got celebrity faces on them. One of them is Fred Durst, and then apparently he later throws CDs into a toilet, and one of them has got significant other cover art on it. So yeah, Fred got his knickers in the twist about that. I hope they get on now, because like they're too old and fucking long in the tooth to really have any kind of to hold on to this shit. You know, like
they're also both like seemingly mellowed out. I've seen so many clips of Fred Durst, of both of them, but especially of Fred Durst, where you're just like, oh, it seems like he realizes now this isn't what life is like, or you know, his image back then. He seems a lot more lighthearted and goofy and stuff now. And you'll see a lot of Nine Inch Nails fans call, this might just be a cultural thing now, but like Daddy Trent. He's got like 6 fucking kids now, and it's like he's my dad's age. So that's a weird thing. He was born the same year as my dad, so it's such a weird thing to think about. Whenever I see him performing and stuff, is like
he has an Academy Award.
I think he's
basically knighted in Hollywood.
He's a Tony away from an EGOT winner, I think.
He's basically Lin-Manuel Miranda, but with heavier music.
Well, it's interesting when you guys talk about like the industrial aspect and not being fans of that and everything. It's weirdly enough, like they're my favorite band and have been for decades at this point. I'm also not an industrial fan. Like there's a lot of stuff with I mean, I don't hate it, obviously. There's enough, you know, overlap that I would have to be okay with it for a lot of Nine Inch Nails stuff, especially the early stuff. But it is an interesting thing about the trajectory of his career and the way that he went, because the Pretty Hate Machine's probably my least favorite Nine Inch Nails album, the very first one. I don't dislike it. I still listen to it. But the stuff about the band and about his creativity and everything that attracted me, I think it would have been pre him working in composing, but there already was a lot of stuff. Like if you go and listen to the album Ghosts, it's Ghosts 1 through 4, that they released, which was like improvisational in studio instrumental sort of stuff. It came out when I was in college. I had the CD in my car. I bought it from fucking Best Buy. It's still around back then. And I loved it, but it got a lot of heat at the time because it's not a normal Nine Inch Nails album and it's whatever. But if you listen to it now, you're just like, oh shit, this is what he did in movies. Just it's a proto version of that. Yeah. It was headed in that direction. And so a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about, I'm with you on, like, it's not necessarily my taste either, but I think there was something in there that was evolving or changing.
Yeah, this is the funny thing, because this is the first time that I've sat down and listened to a Nine Inch Nails album from beginning to end. And what I actually did was I sat down and I listened to the album first. You linked us to a playlist of the EP. So I sat down and listened to that first before I watched the film. And I don't know if, you know how some people are like nose blind or face blind, sure. Right? I think I'm lyric blind. Because I've listened to enough music over the years that I now come to the realization that unless it's something like Queen or David Bowie, I'm not actually listening to the lyrics. I don't know the lyrics to a lot of songs that I absolutely rock along to.
So you only listen to British artists' lyrics, is what you're saying? I know that's not what you're saying. It's just funny that you listen to British people.
It's not necessarily that, but it's like, you know, I'll know like lyrics where like the lyrics are front and center of the song. But the thing I noticed about Nine Inch Nails, especially from the mix of the playlist, and YouTube is never the best place to listen to an album or any kind of music. I understand that, but the mix of this particular album it made it very difficult to pick out the lyrics and really understand them. And this is a problem that I've had. I've been getting, I wouldn't say I'm getting into it, but I've been listening to a lot more death metal and like metalcore and screamo shit recently. My horizons are broadening, gentlemen. And something that I notice is that like a lot of these bands, I don't know what the fuck they're singing the first time round. I have to like bring up lyrics and read the lyrics as they're singing.
Oh yeah.
And eventually I key into it, but I still enjoy the music for the actual music rather than the lyrics, and that's why I think I'm probably like to coin a phrase or to invent something to make myself feel better about my lack of attention. I think I'm maybe a little bit lyric blind or something. I'm not entirely sure, and that was a problem with this, but goddamn, like this album's great. I really enjoyed it, and funnily enough, like there's a reverse sample from David Bowie in the early going in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And like I would say Wish is as close to like a crossover to new metal as you're going to find within industrial. Like it's got really heavy guitars, it's got these heavy riffs. It doesn't have the hip hop element to it, but like a lot of new metal kind of moved away from that as well. I think Limp Bizkit kind of made everyone think new metal has to have rap in it, and it's like, well, it doesn't really. It's just not your daddy's rock. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that album. And then I went and watched the film, and I was traumatized because you get to the Happiness is Slavery entry, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, I love the video, but it is uncomfortable. Like, this entire movie at different points, and I think it's the nature of these kind of pseudo snuff films. And I know that there's people out there that have said, oh, you know, there was talk at the time, is it a real snuff film? And it's like, no, you can tell. Like, there's just something about the camera work. It's not a real snuff film. But they... You probably saw the same quote, but I saw a quote from Peter Christopherson talking about how he was kind of lamenting the fact that it had got passed around and recopied on VHS. He's like, because there's shots in this that are very obviously fake, but the fact that it has gotten degraded and copied and recopied and recopied and like it's lowered the quality so that some of the stuff in these versions now look pretty real. Yeah.
And in this is, we're talking about the early 90s here. People weren't used to seeing these things. You didn't have access to video all the time.
Sure.
Every day, every minute. On your phone, there's no YouTube. It's only video cassettes. It's TV. It's the cinema. Snuff, the whole idea of snuff films was still fairly new for people. I mean, the Nicolas Cage movie 8mm came out years after this. That's what I was getting ready to bring up. So if someone would hand you a video cassette with a copy of this, I can see people in the early 90s not being quite too sure what this is.
No, that's absolutely fair. I think it's always a struggle for us, especially when we're reviewing a lot of the much older stuff on the show and in general. We're looking at it through 2026 eyes, and it's difficult to sometimes remove yourself from that mindset of look at all the things that I've seen and all of the stuff that I know about. It does make it a little more difficult to put yourself in the position of someone from the early 90s who doesn't have a VHS at home, or can't afford many because Jesus Christ, those things were expensive at one point. And you get this kind of low quality copy of a copy of a copy from a friend who got it from somebody down the pub, and it's like
so weird that you said that phrase that way, because it's a Nine Inch Nails song almost exactly the way you said it from one of their newer albums.
Shit.
It's called "Copy of a," and that's the chorus is "Copy of a Copy of."
Shit.
It might even be one of the. I always mix it up. On that album, David Lynch directed one of the music videos. It might even be the one he directed too. Anyway, sorry.
Maybe I should just cop to it right now. You guys never noticed this before.
You've been hiding it.
I am actually Trent Reznor. Hi guys. No. So yeah, I think that the film from beginning to end, it does some really interesting things tonally. The scenes that were shot by Christopherson to interlink the videos There are some really disturbing torture scenes, which again I think are made more effective by the handheld nature of the camera work and the lighting, and it's. I said before, like, you can tell that it's not a real snuff movie, but they do a really good job of getting close to it. Like, it feels very in your face. And there's some very uncomfortable moments right at the end where, like, the dude is dead and this other guy's just grinding on him like he's a fucking fleshlight or something. I don't know.
Speaking of in your face, the dude has the guy's dick off and the blood splash into his own face. And
and then, like, some very interesting, like, the beginning and end of the film where it's like where he's been caught and tried and he's ready to hang. Feels very different, very art housey almost. And the scene where the lever is pulled and the trapdoor opens and he falls to his death. I can't quite place what it feels like, but there's something otherworldly about it. It's like Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff, where he's falling and the rope doesn't seem to be quite the right scale to the body, and he's falling, and it's obviously green screened. It's like, well, lay down on the ground and wave your arms around and we'll pretend you're falling. And it's then the rope snaps, and it's all filmed in black and white, and they've obviously talcum powdered up the rope so that it gives off this kind of like dust as it snaps taut. And like, it's really well thought through and very well implemented, but it does have this kind of, in a weird way, Twin Peaks: The Return, those first couple of episodes where you had like, there was one that was almost entirely black and white, and it was very weird and very strange and very otherworldly, and there was an uncanny valleyness to it all. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And I dug it for that. But yeah, I think I need to listen to more Nine Inch Nails. And I really enjoyed this video, and I was saved a little bit by archive.org because sometimes Archive's inbuilt video player does not like to play ball. So I clicked to play it and it didn't play. So I paused it and then I played again and I reloaded and it wouldn't play. So then I fucked off to YouTube and I found a 4K copy, which Andi linked us to about an hour before recording in case we needed it as well. And that 4K, they've done a really good job. I don't know where they got the original file from.
I think it was because when I started playing it, I was like, how the fuck did they find this? And I was like, I wonder if it's an AI like upscaler.
It might.
And I clicked on the. It is. I clicked on the description. Shit like that. I don't care about AI with though. Like especially with this dude's channel. He was like, I'm not selling this. I'm not. I just wanted. I do AI upscalings of old stuff or whatever.
And in a lot of cases,
looks crazy good.
Yeah, like in a lot of cases, upscaling has been something that's been done for years before AI was the big buzzword and everyone was super, in a lot of cases, very rightly concerned about it. You don't need to use a bunch of servers in the middle of nowhere drinking gallons of water to upscale a video. You can run AI upscaling, to my knowledge, off of a pretty decently spec'd computer, and it's not for profit. It's not ripping people off. It's not putting people out of work. It's not putting them out of business. So yeah, this use of AI is kind of like, along with like the medical sciences where you can use it as a diagnostic tool. I've got no problem with this kind of use case because that's what it should ideally be used for, is to run through a lot of work very quickly, and then when it comes to its conclusions, you get a human being to sit down and look over it and prove it. And in the case of video, it's as simple as sitting down and watching it and making sure it looks good. With medical sciences, you take the results and then you test them again because you do not fucking trust AI. I'll get off my soapbox now. It'll become the AI bashing hour with Dave. But yeah, there are uses for it, and I think this is one of the uses which I'm more than okay with. It looks very good. It's nice and sharp. I don't see many artifacts that bother me too much. The entirety, though, I have to go back to it. The entirety of Happiness in Slavery, like the idea, knowing the backstory of his problems with record labels, this whole story of like, you know, the guy walks into the room and like the machine that he straps himself into is clearly like the music making industry, the record labels, and he is the artist, and then he gets chewed up and literally spat out, and then just to prove the point, the next one in is Trent Reznor, and it's like, okay. And at that point, if you haven't already made the connection of the symbol, oh my god, the symbology. I don't think that's a word. You know what I mean, though. Symbolism. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was like, there are two native English speakers here, and one of them doesn't know what he's talking about, and the German probably does. Yeah, like the symbolism of that really kind of hits home, and maybe it's a little bit on the nose, but sometimes that's what you need. So yeah, I did enjoy it.
In the beginning, it's pleasure. It starts with he gets on that bed and he interacts with this machine, or the machine interacts with him, and at first it's pleasurable to him, and then it becomes pain, and then it becomes death.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
absolutely.
some pretty crazy shit and close-ups of penises, so I hope you guys were ready for that.
Always happy to see a flaccid penis.
It's always a surprise when you get an unbroken, no pun intended, shot of one of those. I'm really happy you guys like this. I don't know. It wasn't a thing where I was like, oh man, I hope that, because like I like it too, but I also wasn't sure how much I like it because it's Nine Inch Nails. Wasn't sure how much I like it because it's, as Andi said, like a big part of it for me is the aspect of its history, of it as a piece of media, like the lore and the controversy and the legends around it and everything else. I will say, as you guys have already also said too, I was surprised watching it this week. Again, I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager, but the look of it is pretty great. Like it looks really nice, and I thought immediately of that era of David Lynch as well. Dave, when you mentioned Twin Peaks, I thought of that episode. I thought of some of the. I mean, not even industrial because it shares the name in common with the subgenre of metal, but just industrial looking sort of sets and items and stuff like that. Like you would have those shots in season 3, especially, and honestly in all 3, but especially in season 3 of Twin Peaks, where like Cooper in that box that they he's like suspended in for a while, and this is early on in the season, but and David Bowie's eventual fate, his character's fate, I won't spoil it, from the film Fire Walk With Me that's touched back on in the 3rd season of Twin Peaks. Like there's some different shots and aspects of it where I was like, oh shit, this immediately like pulls, even though I was alive at this point, but I was very young. I wouldn't have been allowed to watch any of this shit anyway. But even just being able to see how it looks after having watched a bunch of Lynch stuff from the era, and then also other music videos from the era, it does snap you right back to a lot of that production and set design and stuff. And then also like all of these directors, and like Andi mentioned, like the music video style, Kristofferson did. I was trying to find, he doesn't have one really on his Wikipedia page, and I didn't see a link to IMDb. I'm sure it's somewhere, but he's directed tons of music videos, or he did, including for Rage Against the Machine, which Andi mentioned earlier. So there's definitely a visual competency here that's pretty locked in. Like that was one of the first things, that shot of him falling through the trap door being hanged in slow motion, the whole thing you described already. Like there's something so kind of, I don't want to say beautiful, but there's a, again, like it's not a dash together, like, oh, let's make a found footage sort of like snuff film that's sort of, just supposed to be, it has those moments in the movie, but, or in the short, but it's just very well made. And there's still an edgelordy aspect of it for me where it is kind of going to those, places. But I think with time, and then also with the context and the history of what this thing is, it helped me. And even watching it when I was a teenager, I wouldn't have been rolling my eyes being like, fuck this. Like, I still obviously was into all of it because they were my favorite band. But there was an aspect of it for me where I was just kind of like, okay, I get it. Watching it this time, it feels more like a cohesive thing that they wanted to make, back then. And also, like, I don't want to say it's purely for the sake of the art, but it wasn't released. So it's not like it was, they're making all this money off of it. And I believe Reznor also didn't want to release it to not overshadow the album. So like it was a secondary thing to that. So there is something kind of, I think, pure about the artistic aspect of it. That's kind of cool watching it in retrospect. And I also didn't expect or even honestly even think about what you guys would think about the music, because I remembered this as, again, the history and everything around it, but it wasn't until I was watching it that I was like, oh yeah, I guess this is music videos. Like you kind of forget that I was so focused on the framing device stuff. Like that's what I really remembered.
I mean, I could have put it on mute, but I thought I might as well listen to the music while I was doing it.
It's also an interesting era of Nine Inch Nails too, because I remember the first time I heard the song Last. There's a guitar riff in Last, like right after the, I think, first chorus. That's this, like, from as far as I am aware of, and I don't know that I've listened to every Nine Inch Nails song. I've obviously listened to a lot of them and all their albums, but I don't know that I've done a deep dive on being like, let me listen to every EP, every remix album, every single, whatever. But as far as my memory goes, no other riff like it in their entire discography. Like it's a very aggressive, like guitar forward, like it's a very guitar forward heavy riff that's like not a Nine Inch Nails-y thing. That song specifically came back onto my radar. This is spoilers for the end of Cabin in the Woods for anyone who hasn't seen it. So the shot where the giant, like, god hand is coming out of the ground and slams onto the camera, we cut to credits. It kicks in with Last. Like they use that song right at the end. And I remember at the time not even registering that it was Nine Inch Nails until I heard Reznor's vocals kick in. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I forgot it was the song off of Broken.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this was like this transitory EP between Pretty Hate Machine into Downward Spiral, which when you listen to Downward Spiral has moments of this sort of stuff, but most of it's quiet. Most of it's quiet and weird and obviously depressing. And then after that, once you get into the Fragile, some of that comes back, but then it's also starting to get into, like, that's where Starfuckers came out. Like, it's starting to get at times into even more of the electronic stuff, and then that stuff kind of starts to blend in and become a major component of the work going forward. And then Atticus Ross shows up, 10 years after that, and then everything changes even more. So, Broken as just an EP is an interesting thing too.
I've got a weird relationship with that kind of song that's on an artist's album, because it almost always is the case that I'll hear a song that I absolutely love, and then I'll deep dive into the rest of the band's discography, and I'll be like, oh, they never made another song like this, or even in this same sort of genre. And I know you guys know how I love my Japanese all-girl rock bands, right? So sure. Like Band Maiden, Baby Metal, technically not all-girl because they've got a backing band that is a mixture of men and women. But I recently... And I say discovered because it turns out I already own songs by this band because of things like my Bleach original soundtracks and whatnot. But there's a band in Japan called Scandal, who are actually the longest running continuous all-girl rock band that hasn't changed members. So they've got the most continuous lineup of like 20 plus years at this point. And there's a song that I just ran into one day, which is an absolute banger. And I was like, I need this album. And I looked at the rest of their stuff and I was like, oh, the rest of their stuff's pop. Well, pop rock. Got the album anyway. Fucking love them now. It's really weird how, like, these bands keep doing this to me. They keep tricking me by releasing one song that's like, yeah, this is the exact song that you like. And then the rest of it is like, you're going to grow to like this because we tell you to. It seems like Nine Inch Nails maybe did that with Last. Who knows? But I think I definitely did enjoy Wish. Probably that's the one that sticks in my head. And although it's not as guitar forward as Last is, as you're saying there, I think it definitely does have a very heavy
totally.
guitar line in there, which absolutely helps. And then, of course, he gets to sing the immortal line "fist fuck," which he joked somewhere that his gravestone was going to say Trent Reznor died, sang "fist fuck," won a Grammy. Which is fucking brilliant. I love that. So
have to update it now.
I would like to go through the individual segments for a moment because I think they represent a good overview of just the music video genre. So we have with Pinion, and is it Pinion or do you not pronounce that differently? Okay,
that's how I say it. Yeah.
Is that an actual word? I've never encountered this word.
Yeah, it's a name for a small gear. So, if you've got a motor that drives a much larger gear, then it's the small one that's attached to that.
Okay, thank you. So with Pinion and Help Me, I Am in Hell, we have 2 instrumental tracks that are shorter, and those videos are almost like art installations, like video art. The first one, we follow the camera goes into a toilet, we follow the liquid through pipes and things, and until it gets into a person who's in this bondage contraption. And with Help Me and I'm in Hell, we see a guy eating a steak and full of flies. The guy is full of flies, and at some points the camera cuts to the same guy again in some bondage suit. With Wish, we have mostly a performance video, although there is this story of them being in this cage surrounded by these other people that then at the end of the video get into the cage, but mostly it's performance. Happiness and Slavery is more a storytelling video. There's no performance actually at all. You don't see the band. There's no instruments that you see. And then Gave Up is like part of the broken story, of the framing story. It's the end, and it is also interesting in the way that we have this back and forth between the snuff parts and the police enters the house parts. So that brings it all together. So just wanted to point out like the different subgenres represented within this whole 20 minutes movie.
Yeah, I did find myself really interested by Help Me, I'm in Hell. I was like, they can't be real flies, right? And I'm constantly trying to figure out how that sausage is made. And I've come to the conclusion that dude just eat flies.
It's also one of those weird things where you're like, this was from the era where they might have just been like, just fucking eat them. Not meant for actual official release. Yeah, I thought about that too.
It was pretty gnarly. And I was like, well, I hope he didn't swallow at least. Just chew and then spit it out. It's like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. The bloody Bush Tucker trial. It's just...
Maybe the guy was some sort of like freak show performer or something that did that in his day job anyway.
Yeah, maybe he just likes it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You break that down. I noticed when I watched it when I watched it the second time. The first time I watched Broken, it was the archive copy, so with a grainier resolution. The second time, then I watched this upscale thing on YouTube.
Which is better for you?
Depends. In the upscale, you see details closer that you may have missed on the grainier copy, and of course, just from seeing it once and then reading or rereading the Wikipedia article that points out certain details that I didn't quite catch or didn't even remember from watching it the first time, and I was able to focus on these things the second time. What I wanted to point out was I'm very sure those are real flies, except for close to the end of the video, the camera focuses in onto one fly sitting on the collar of the guy. That thing is definitely plastic because it doesn't move at all, and it looks very plasticky in the upscale
Maybe
video.
He had performance anxiety. You don't know.
Maybe it's just a well-trained movie fly. You sit still until we say cut.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's awesome that you break it down that way because I hadn't thought about that. And as soon as you started breaking down each song and video and how I was like, oh fuck, there is a thing here. And the video or the part for Gave Up that you mentioned is over the film. Like it doesn't have its own thing. There is another music video for that they officially released. That is a studio. It's another performance of the song. So in the movie, they just used the track from the album over the film that you're seeing. The actual official music video is them performing it at the studio, at the Sharon Tate, the Manson murders thing. And I've probably seen this at some point. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I was reading about it. Marilyn Manson's in the video apparently, which is, I guess, ironic. Yeah. And then also I did just read that Richard Patrick is on guitar and vocals and also in Wish that you mentioned earlier, Andi, and that album or the video for Gave Up is the last thing he did with Nine Inch Nails before he left to do Filter. So that was new information for me. I didn't know.
Of course, he's the brother to Robert Patrick, who is the T-1000 from Terminator 2.
I was getting ready to say, within the past 4 years, I heard Hey Man, Nice Shot. I think probably not for the first time, but for the first time in a way where I was paying attention to it and was just like, oh, I fucking love this. And I messaged you guys and was just like, I've always known about Filter as a band, but never really listened to them. And like, holy fuck, I'm so into this song. And like a big part of it was that it made me feel like it felt how these early Nine Inch Nails albums felt. And that was when you blew my mind by saying that he's Robert Patrick's brother. I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So every single time that band comes up now, yeah, that's the first thing I think of.
So mad whenever you
Filter
find
have
out.
a great cover version of that One Is the Loneliest Number song. I don't know what it's actually called.
No shit.
For the first X-Files movie. It was the video for the first X-Files movie.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
That
too.
was
I'm sure I'll
before
like it.
Robert Patrick became a actor on that show, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been.
Was
yeah,
it?
so that's
Yeah.
weird.
Oh, yo, shit, yeah, it was because he was after.
he played Doggett,
yeah.
didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Damn.
weird. I didn't think about
I
that.
think what was the movie between seasons 4 and 5 or something like that?
I think so.
Relatively early on. Yeah.
Yeah. Late 90s, early mid 90s.
How do we keep finding all these people that are related to each other? Like, what the fuck?
So neither of you guys had seen the Happiness and Slavery video then, until now?
I've never seen any of these until now. I think
Okay.
I've heard Wish in passing, but
Okay.
Because
that was
I
one.
may have caught a glimpse of a Nine Inch Nails video in the 90s on MTV, but I've never like focused on any of their work.
And I'm not asking that in a way where it's like, I can't believe you guys have never seen Happiness and Slavery. Like, it's not the Wizard of Oz. Like,
no, I mean,
it's
Happiness
not
in
something everyone's
Slavery
seen.
was. I read up on it, and apparently that was one of the ones that was banned from being shown, and it got shown maybe 2 or 3 times at midnight when they got away with it. But other than that, it was pretty rare that it got an airing.
I think I saw it before I saw the Broken movie, because by the time I got into Nine Inch Nails, which I guess to date it very specifically, the first song I ever heard by them where I was like, what is this? It was on the radio, was Only, off of With Teeth, which is maybe my favorite Nine Inch Nails album to this day. It's kind of a divisive one amongst fans. Now, I'm not saying it's their best, but it's probably my favorite, maybe because it was my entry point. The music video for Only, directed by David Fincher, to add another connection in here. But the... That was what pulled me in then, and then I started backtracking into Downward Spiral. But then it was like I started noticing stuff everywhere. So one of the first trailers for the movie 300, the Zack Snyder movie, uses an instrumental track from The Fragile, which is great, and for me, like, set the whole tone of the trailer, where I was like, what is this song? And then finding out it was Nine Inch Nails, connecting those dots, et cetera, et cetera. So somewhere in there, I saw, by that point, the Happiness and Slavery video was easily watchable online. I don't know if it was totally uncensored, like, although I don't know now. Sometimes I'll see videos on YouTube and there will be shit where I'm like, have they just not caught this yet? Like, how am I seeing a dude's dick in this video? Like, I don't know exactly what the rules are, but yeah, so that was one that I had seen before, and it has kind of its own sort of not as much of like a lore mythology around it, but I don't know a ton about this guy, but Bob Flanagan is the actor who plays the guy who sits down at the machine, and he had an entire career as a performance artist and doing lots of crazy shit where he would like nail his dick to a board and like he did all kinds of
dude.
yeah,
No.
I know, like some gnarly shit.
Nobody got time
like,
for that shit.
Did a lot of crazy stuff, and that's an entire other like interesting rabbit hole you can kind of go down and read about. Was this guy? He's got an interesting like weird look in the video too, and so it was this cool kind of also other thing where it was like this performance artist interacting in this video that's like kind of a performance art piece in and of itself, where he becomes part of it, and like the flowers coming out of the ground from where all the fucking blood and meat and everything is getting poured out of, like that stuff always
I suppose that would signify the art, right? Like we get ground up
that's
and
how I always
spat out, but you get all of this art as a result,
right? So yeah, that was the visuals from that had stayed with me for a long time. But
hard to believe that he's Mike Flanagan's second cousin on his father's sister's
yeah,
pharmacist
let's make more
side.
connections.
Yeah.
Let me give you some more connections to our today's episode, because I just looked up the X-Files soundtrack. The song is just called One. That's the first one on the soundtrack. And I talked about the Spawn soundtrack earlier, and you remember the days when movies had like proper song soundtracks, compilations. So the X-Files soundtrack, we have Filter, then Tonic, Foo Fighters, Ween, Sting and Aswad, The Cardigans, Better Than Ezra, The Cure, Björk, Soul Coughing, X, Sarah McLachlan, and Noel Gallagher. And
Holy
the Dust Brothers. But it was actually, I looked it up, it was Liam Gallagher who had the feud with Jack White. So Dave was correct.
That makes sense.
But yeah.
Zorro on donuts. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I didn't really make notes or anything this time, or like get deeper into it. I mean, it's definitely. I did look for, and I don't know if I'm assuming if you would have found anything great, Andi, you would have sent it to us, but I couldn't really find any like. Right away, I was like, I bet there's some amazing video essays about this, and I clicked on two or three, and all three of them. Two or three of them within about 20 seconds of the person talking, I was like, nope, not going to be this one. Like this is just some person like kind of talking about it for fun. Like I wanted something a little bit more in depth.
I didn't find anything great. I found one video that maybe is good, but I didn't watch it because the guy does commentary over the whole video, but he isn't able to show the video, so he explains to you how you can see it on archive, and then I stopped because I didn't have the time to listen to the commentary where I can't see the video, and I then rather rewatched the broken movie another time without the commentary. But yeah, surprisingly, I didn't find a good analysis on YouTube, at least. Maybe there's the text out there, an article that is worth seeking out.
That's what I wanted to. I'm still waiting for like a really definitive. I don't know if it's just that he's stopped it or he's waiting or what, but like there's really not a documentary or like a book or a memoir. Like there's lots of unofficial things about Nine Inch Nails in general. So maybe I'm sure at some point if they ever do like a big, retrospective documentary about the band or Reznor or whatever, it would probably be touched on in there. But yeah, still waiting for that day, because I bet there's some crazy stories, and I bet that there's a lot of just with how contentious of a guy he was for a lot of his career. He was one of the early examples for me, I think, growing up, where I realized like, oh, there's like potential, and maybe not always, but I think just that argument and that discussion in general is an interesting one in terms of like personality. It definitely happens with the Gallaghers too, like personalities and the negative aspects of said personalities or actions, whatever, how people behave, treat, and then the intersection of that with their creativity and how much of that feeds in, how much of it is a byproduct of them putting that as the most important thing in their life. I think that's why the first time I watched the movie Whiplash, it resonated with me in a big way, not in a way where I was like, I want to be the best letterer in the world and I will absolutely abandon my friends and family for that goal. The opposite rang true for me, where it was like, I love this and I love it more than anything else in my life in terms of like something I want to get better at and creatively pursue. But I'm not willing to sabotage relationships and everything else. But just that like core idea of, because that's the thesis that Fletcher's character in that movie like puts forth, is that these other drummers were this good because they had nothing else to worry about or focus on other than their art. And Reznor for me was an early example of that, where I was like, man, I hear a lot of bad stories about him. Like, maybe not that he's like an evil person, but just like kind of an asshole and very controlling. Obviously, like Nine Inch Nails for a very long time, until about 10 years ago, was officially just him. He had a touring band, and I think was pretty tight with a lot of them. But some of those guys have stories that they've spoken pretty candidly about too, in terms of like realizing how they were or weren't valued later on because of his approach and everything else. So anyway, that's another tangent, but it was definitely a thing, I think, for me growing up, of realizing, I think before that I had rose-colored glasses with a lot of stuff with people. It's like, oh, I love this guy's or this person's art, so they must be a cool person, and realizing like, well, maybe not. They might in fact be a huge asshole. But
that's we all learned in the past years.
But then, you know, I think the thing that really annoys me about that kind of thing is that every now and then you discover that there's someone out there who you absolutely adore, and then you hear that actually they're really good people as well. And you're like, right, so what's the excuse for the rest of you assholes then? Right. And you hear so many stories. Works, but
you hear so many stories too of creative people opening up about this exact phenomenon too, and wondering like, especially when it comes to like mental health stuff, to where it's like, okay, if I seek out mental health treatment, even if it's therapy or just like an SSRI, like a basic medication, like will that sap my creativity? Will that affect how my art is formed, how it comes about? Like, and I'm sure to people who aren't artistic or creative, which is totally fine, it's not a knock on them, it probably sounds like total bullshit, and maybe it is, but there is this sort of like unknowable, intangible aspect of it to where there is a fear there. You hear it with stand-ups a lot, I have heard it with stand-ups a lot, when they had that thing of like, am I only funny because I'm so fucking sad and I have this pain and these feelings to pull from to find the humor? If I become happy, will that take away my ability to be funny? And so like to your point, you hear a lot of people that talk about that, to where it's like, I was worried about this for so long, but then once I got sober, or once I started getting help, or once I stopped doing this, not only was I still able to be creative, but things got better for me. But I think when you're in such a darker place too, and especially like a lot of the Nine Inch Nails stuff, the early stuff, I mean, Downward Spiral is a concept album about a fucking downward spiral. So like, it's not, Reznor was addicted to drugs at this point too, and different issues. So like, it's all interesting. It's not even necessarily something I have an opinion about one way or another. I know what I want to do and not do in terms of being a person and how I treat other people around me. But it is interesting looking at it, you know, for other creative people.
It's the weird thing, because I think that I come down on different parts of it on different sides. Like the argument about how a lot of very successful comics are that way because they're people pleasers and they want to elicit joy in other people to make themselves feel better. I can completely see how that is the case. Like Robin Williams, the most famous example of recent years, was horrifically depressed, and you know, ultimately that's what robbed him from the world. But then, like I can definitely come down on the side of, I understand their concerns there, although that should never stop you from getting help, because ultimately I feel that the ability to entertain isn't based on your feelings of helplessness or inadequacy. It comes from a spark of invention. But then,
and it shouldn't be at your detriment.
No,
to
it
be able to entertain other.
I think if you're worried that you won't be able to entertain people anymore because you went to get treatment for your own well-being, then the priorities there are probably mixed up. It's one thing if it's like, well, I need to make a living. It's another thing if you're like someone like, and this isn't a criticism at all, so please, anyone listening, don't take it this way. If Robin Williams went to get counselling and you know, he, for all I know, he did. This is the thing.
Say,
so
maybe
I'm just
had,
gonna,
I don't know.
But if he had successfully been able to battle his demons, let's put it that way, because that's probably the safest and and most generous way of saying it. If he wasn't funny anymore, I wouldn't care, because he would still be here, and there's still that work, and he made a fortune doing what he loved, and he would be comfortable for the rest of his life. On the other hand, Russell Brand was never fucking funny, and he's an asshole. So what's his fucking excuse? At least be a good person that's not funny. Like that's the way I'm seeing it. But yeah, like I think it really depends. It's like mental health is nothing to be laughed at, and ironically, a lot of comics use their mental health as a springboard to make other people laugh, which, you know, I suppose in that way, mental health for them is something to laugh at. But where it comes to artists being divas and just being assholes to other people because, you know, I can, and that's my art, that's where I get my art from, is being a terrible person. Well, fuck you. I don't want your art. Thank you very much. Other people will, I'm sure, and good luck to you. But it's
even on this Broken EP album, there's an anecdote I had not heard of until this week, where, so you guys mentioned that there's 2 like bonus hidden tracks on it that are both covers. The first one,
the pig face stuff.
Yeah. So the pig face thing, the credit there, and it's pretty convoluted, but like you can go and find the little rabbit hole trail to read about it. But the essentially the way Trent Reznor credited it there were different ways that it was credited in different places. One of them was Trent Reznor and Pigface as the writers, or as the credit for it. And then when Pigface, or one of the guys involved with Pigface, re-released it on something later on, in their liner notes for the credit, it was like something along the lines of like Trent Reznor, yeah, whatever he says, that's who wrote it. Like it's a very sort of like they, you know, took offense to it. So yeah,
but my reading of it, as someone that literally just read about it on Wikipedia, and that's my only knowledge of it, I think it came down to the fact that Pigface on all of their stuff credit the individuals on the tracks,
the band, the whole band,
but they don't just say Pigface or Foo Fighters or this or that. They would say, you know, Dave Grohl or
Broken Down.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas he was just like, Pigface, and he's like they took offense to that. I think maybe that's my understanding.
I think so. On the later I just found it. Pigface released the writing credit for the song is, quote, "Whatever Trent says, really, no shit." So it clearly didn't go okay. Yeah,
because he was a member of that band at one point as well. So I guess there were.
I think so. Yeah, I can never. Some of these, a lot of them, I like Pigface and Coil and Throbbing Gristle. Like they're ones that I remember reading about and reading around and that being involved. Flood was a producer on the Broken EP, and he worked with Flood early on. Even Throbbing Gristle, it was Coil. Their first EP was called How to Destroy Angels, which is the name of the band he has with Atticus Ross and his wife. So like there's all these. So yeah, I don't remember exactly how it is with Pigface, but they call him an industrial rock supergroup. Oh, holy shit. If you click on members and collaborators on their Wikipedia article, you'll be scrolling for a little bit. So it looks like he was one of a bunch of people that were involved at some point.
Fair dues.
So anyway. Okay. I think we're pretty much at the end of this, unless you guys had any other big final thoughts. I'm really happy you guys both liked it. It's awesome. This was really best case scenario, because to me, it wasn't totally the same thing as last week, but there was an aspect of it this week that was really fun, of just like the context and the history, and you know, doing research around it and making all these connections and connecting dots and stuff. A lot of which probably this week I didn't connect back the first time that I watched it some years ago. But yeah, the EP, listening to it this week, still hit pretty well for me. I mean, obviously I'm a fan of the band, but there was aspects of it where I was like, man, this song really holds up. Or there's a breakdown in Happiness and Slavery, a little instrumental part that gets very fucking industrial and electronic-y. I think it's really where he's getting like completely killed in the video, where the machine starts really like going off, where I was like, oh shit, it's so interesting now, like having listened to their discography up until this point, because there's a breakdown in a song off Year Zero that's so similar, and not in a way where I'm saying like they copied their own song, but just
that's just their sensibilities, right?
Well, and it's like an early proto version of it, where it's like he didn't do stuff like that in all of their songs back then. But this one particular piece sounds so much like this track from Year Zero, where it's like, oh, it's interesting, and that was the direction that eventually hit. So yeah, there were lots of observations I made this week from a Nine Inch Nails fan perspective that were cool to connect. But double feature picks, are we doing that? I know Dave mentioned it as a joke. I guess it depends if Andi actually picked one, if I need to scramble and think of something.
I do have something, yes. But,
okay.
Scramble, young David, scramble.
Dave, go first.
Okay, well, I said in the group chat that it will come as no surprise to anyone because it's the most obvious thing that anyone could ever think of. So I'm going with Once Upon a Time in LA because the entire album that this movie is based on was recorded in the Sharon Tate house, which, you know, the Sharon Tate murder or the Otherworld version of it featured in that movie. So I'm going to go with that. This is in the world of Once Upon a Time in LA. I
Hollywood.
guess 9 Inch in Hollywood. Sorry, right place, wrong area. 9 Inch Nails never existed, according to Quentin Tarantino, I guess. Or maybe they recorded it in a different place. Who knows?
I would have never guessed that you picked that movie.
Okay.
Because when you sent that message, I hadn't seen Broken yet. I may have had read the Wikipedia article once, but I didn't make the Sharon Tate connection. I just went, I thought, okay, there's so many cheap horror movies that are called Broken out there. He's probably not picking one of those. Unbreakable, maybe?
That's a hell of a stretch. I mean, I know I do stretch the bounds a lot on this show, but
yeah, it was less story, more the wordplay that led me from Broken to Unbreakable.
But, you know, Once Upon a Time is one of the 5 films that I always go to in this feature, so...
It's either going to be that or Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ghost Story.
Yep. Oh, or invariably Ghost Story, yeah.
What do you got,
Andy? So David mentioned that unplanned and unforeseen 9 Inch Nails had released on Friday the 9 Inch Noize thingy, and I had picked my double feature like a week ago, and I thought it won't probably be out before the recording. I will have to pick something where I have to say it will probably be out within the next couple of weeks, but it was released on Friday, so I had my maths was off. The new Patrick H. Willems video.
Yes, I haven't watched it yet.
The YouTube release was this Friday. I have a subscription to Nebula, and he releases his videos a month earlier on Nebula. So I watched it a few weeks ago. So I knew it was coming. But yeah, it is actually out now. Came out 2 days ago, and it is about music videos, music video directors. So he changed the title of the video within the last couple of days. So it's currently called on YouTube, "The Music Video is Dead, Long Live the Music Video." The original title, and as it is called on Nebula, is "The Death of the Music Video to Cinema Pipeline." And it deals with the fact that in the 90s we had this famous era of music videos where the director became a star and went on to make movies for Hollywood, like David Fincher and Michael Bay and Spike Jonze and Michel Gondry and all these people.
I went
and David, I think you are aware of these DVD sets that Propaganda Films put out, the director's series. So like, I don't know, like a couple of months ago, so Willems had posted a photo of the research for the new season premiere, and it was all these sets, the director's series, and I was so excited for this video. So it is out now. It's a great video in the usual Patrick H. Willems fashion. The video reflects the topic of the video, so he recreates in his essay parts. He recreates several famous music videos.
Oh man,
where he stars in a Beastie Boys video, for example, and things like that. So and that fits so fantastically just for myself, having seen this video, being in this headspace of of music videos and music video directors, and from my youth and also over the years. I've looked, not too long ago, I've looked into the work of Chris Cunningham again, because Jonathan Glazer is one of those that made movies, and Chris Cunningham is this other guy who made these fantastic music videos who never made a movie.
And tried to, right? Isn't that the Bjork?
Yeah, he tried to do the
Neuromancer.
Neuromancer. My mind was only able to come up with necromancer. I knew that was not correct. Yeah, he tried to make Neuromancer and things like that. So very interesting person, very interesting work. Which made it very fitting to me that we would do this short film, which is put together of several music videos from that time, from that era. So the Patrick H. Willems, it is April 2026 when his video came out on YouTube. As currently titled on YouTube, "The Music Video is Dead. Long Live the Music Video." Maybe it has a different title in a couple of days. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows what it will be called in a year's time.
And The Death of the Music Video to Cinema Pipeline is the original title, and the title on Nebula. Very interesting video.
I've been meaning to watch that for the last few days, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't watch it before we recorded now. But I'm definitely going to put that right afterwards.
Sweet. Yeah, my mind was going very much to that same place. And I probably, I don't know. That Chris Cunningham stuff I was not familiar with. I mean, maybe vaguely until I watched those videos at your house, Andi, at your apartment last year. And that was one of the first things I thought of when I was scrambling here a second ago of like, okay, what do I do for a double feature pick, was specifically that Michel Gondry video for Bjork. I think it's Army of Me, where she's driving the truck. Yeah. And in my memory of it, it was in black and white. When I was Googling it, I was like, this was not in black and white, and it's not exactly how I remembered. I've seen it once, but it stuck in my head in that same way, that same era. I think a little bit. This was a little bit before that, but so I'll be totally safe here. And for my double feature pick, I'll pick a movie we've already done on the show, which is Lost Highway, David Lynch movie. But then obviously a big Nine Inch Nails connection. So I think that there's an aesthetic that's present here for the same time. The Broken the movie came out in 93, and then 4 years later, Lost Highway in 97. And then Reznor did music specifically for the soundtrack, and a couple songs, and then I think different some production stuff too. So I'll go with that. It's a movie I've only seen once for the podcast, but I liked, and at some point definitely want to rewatch. Okay, cool. Yeah, nice. I'm glad you guys dug it. And listeners, let us know if you have seen this thing, and if you have not. As we mentioned, I gave you step-by-step instructions on how to get to it through the Nine Inch Nails website if you want to go that route, but you could just go to Internet Archive. Or watch the upscaled version over on YouTube, which I'll probably be doing this week, even though I watched it a couple times on Internet Archive. I want to see the upscaled version too. So, let us know. Stay safe out there. Keep watching horror movies, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Gaboo.